Well, welcome everybody to the November 4th, 2025 technical committee meeting and the last time of the year. Um, very, very, very small. Welcome everybody.
That should fix it.
All right.
We'll start with a roll call. We'll start down here. It's Matt.
Yeah, hi, I'm Samadra Minwala, transportation planner, Colonel West TPO.
Okay, and go to the county planning.
Angela Planner, RTF.
Curtis Carpinato, Durham County.
Colleen McGee, Triangle West.
Eric Montelli, City of Durham.
Caroline Dwyer, Capital Denver. Ellen Beckman, Durham County. Sarah Williamson, Orange County. Bergen Watterson, County Chapel Hill. Lindsay Smart, City of Durham.
Well, Black, Triangle.
Matt Davis, Central Finance Regional Council. Tracy Garrett, DOT Division 5.
Julie Bogle, DOT Transportation County.
Kevin Husky, this is the DOT 70.
Johnson, City of Durham.
Back Eversole Robinson Town Barbara. Nancy Town. Triangle West.
Bill Montasati, Triangle West.
David Miller, Triangle West.
Porter, Triangle West.
Thanks everybody. Any adjustments?
There is one adjustment to the agenda. Brian Ward from the STIP unit will be joining us to give a presentation under the NCDOT reports. He'll be the last presenter. He has a special thing to share with us today, so stay tuned.
Any public comments?
Wait, is he the last presenter or?
Under
first?
NCDOT reports,
Oh, okay, that's at the top of the agenda.
Yeah.
under number 6, but after Brian Lopez. We did not receive anyone sign up to speak in advance. Is there anyone online?
It does not appear so, no.
Right, no public comment.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Oh,
Report.
shoot. All right, get that ahead of it. TPO staff.
Yeah, Doug is joining us remotely today. So I don't have too much to add in addition to the staff report that's part of your agenda package. This, as Eric mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this is our last meeting of the calendar year. So we have quite a bit on our agenda. We're in the final stages of our MTP development process. And Yangping's going to give us a presentation here in a little bit. And our safety summit is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Friday is your last day to register if you haven't registered already for the Regional Safety Summit at the Chapel Hill Library on November 20th. Please do. If you have any questions, let me know. That's it.
I guess I'll just remind everyone the Triangle Bike and Ped workshops this Friday in Holly Springs. Just in case you forgot or didn't register yet. That's it for me. DOT reports, Division 5.
Nothing heavy on the written report was submitted, but, we'll answer any questions if there are.
Wonderful. Division 7,
Same, nothing additional to report.
Division 8,
Good afternoon. No changes to the project update. Be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
thanks. TPD,
Hi, Julie Bogle, there's no updates today. How are you taking it?
thanks. Traffic operations,
Don't think
Do we have John Green?
John, I don't think John is online.
Does anyone find the,
Doesn't look like it.
okay, that brings us to our final report presentation. Brian online, you said?
Yep, I'm here. Okay, give
What
me,
is all yours, Brian?
thank you very much. First, let me say thank you to Colleen and Triangle West and Eric as the TCC chair for allowing me to come in late and give this presentation. I really appreciate that. And do want to say thank you for that opportunity. And so with that, let's make sure. Is my screen share working?
Yes.
Okay, great. Excellent. I'll be quick today, as much as I can be. What I want to speak with everybody today is about a new project milestone for projects selected through prioritization, which is the Confidence Scope and Cost Estimate, or CSCE. Before we get into that, I just want to provide a little context of where this is coming from. What you see here on this graph on the, I think that's coming through on your right side, is the construction cost index and how that has changed between 2023 and 2025. If you haven't seen this, you've probably felt this when you've opened bids for local projects. The quick takeaway is that the construction cost index was set at 1 in 2003, and as of 2025, it is written into about 3.16. That means projects are over 3 times greater in cost today than they were in 2003. We've been dealing with this. This caused a lot of problems with the prioritization process. If you recall from our 24 to 33 STIP, there were no new projects selected as part of the P6 process. The P6 process was canceled after the quantitative scores were released, but before local input points were taken. And then our 26 to 35 STIP, there were new projects only in 4 of our 22 STI categories. So we're working through this process, trying to deal with these increasing costs and the impacts on our program. To address these issues, the department has implemented a number of new processes. These are things like requiring an express design for new projects before they are in the final step, updating our estimates every 2 years, basing our unit costs on more recent construction estimates so they more rapidly take into account new and increasing costs. And one thing that came out of the work group for P8 was looking at express designs to be performed before projects are submitted, so we have a better cost estimate during project scoring. The confidence scope and cost estimate is a continuation of these improvements. So that's where it's coming from. It's another step the department is taking in concert with our partners to try and get a better grasp on costs as projects come into the system and progress through the system to construction. So what is the confidence scope and cost estimate, or CSCE? It is a new milestone in project delivery for projects selected through prioritization. So that's an important point that I want to make sure that gets across today. This is only currently for projects selected through prioritization. I don't know of any plans to expand it beyond that. So if you have your locally selected projects, this will not apply to those. These are only for projects selected through prioritization. What its goal is to ensure that there's agreement on the scope at the appropriate time. We'll talk about what the appropriate time is here in a second. What this helps us do is create confidence in the cost estimates, because what it means is that the scope of the project shouldn't be changing dramatically. And so if the scope is identified and not changing, hopefully our costs aren't changing, at least in terms of scope change. Obviously, there might be unit cost increases that would incur cost changes. But those changes that can be fairly large due to scope changes. Our goal is to try and get a better handle on those. And you can see that our future goal is that projects should have an improved confidence scope and cost estimate to be eligible to program in the STIP as scheduled for delivery. So that means that we're going to be looking at this going forward as a check to move projects from that scheduled for PE only in the back half of the STIP into the scheduled for delivery, giving it a more firm delivery schedule. What are our expected outcomes and goals? Fewer and smaller cost increases for projects that are scheduled for delivery. Again, that gives us that cost containment that we're looking for. Fewer project delays due to funding availability. I know we've all lived through that recently. It's not been pleasant in this role. I'm sure it's been less pleasant as people dealing with the municipalities directly to deliver that news. So our goal is to help with that. That should lead to more stability within the STIP, allowing for projects to be implemented on schedule and more accurate planning and budget for future projects in the STIP. So again, this is what we're hoping to do, just further those cost containment measures that we've put in place over the last few years. So when would be the appropriate time to document your confidence scope and cost estimate? So we have to start with a basic tenet, and that is all projects are unique. So timing may be based on the type of project. For very basic projects, these are things like a turn lane, signal installation projects, or perhaps roundabouts. Scope and cost estimate could be based on an express design, right? There are far fewer unknowns. There's a smaller impact area. So we may have a good idea of the scope and cost at an earlier stage, and that could be appropriate for those types of projects. For more complex projects, and these are things like widening or single alternative new location projects, we're envisioning that the scope and cost estimate could be based on the design recommendation plan set. This is something you might have heard before called DRPS, or something NCDOT describes as 25% plans. Quick aside, we use percent terminology that does not necessarily correspond to how far along a project is. So you may hear things like 25% plans or 65% plans or 90% plans. The design recommendation plan set is what we typically refer to as the 25% plans. The majority of our projects we think will fit into this category. This is going to be the standard that we're going to be using for all of the locally administered projects as they're trying to achieve their CSCE milestone. Again, that's going to give us that consistency across the state. For larger projects, things with multiple alternatives, so things like a new location bypass or major interstate project where we have to look at a number of alternatives and go through potentially the entire environmental impact statement process, we may need to wait until we've reached LEDPA, which is the least environmentally damaging practicable alternative and or public involvement for projects to reach that. Scope and cost estimate could then be based on that selected alternative. So you can see we're trying to tailor this to the needs of the project. Again, when we're confident in what the project is going to be as built, that's the point in time we're looking at developing the confident scope and cost estimate and documenting that. Some of the factors you can see here to consider in the timing of CSCE, there are a lot. The one that I want to draw your attention to here today, particularly with this group, are the complete street recommendations. And why I want to draw your attention to that is that many of you may be involved in the complete street conversations in a way you might not be involved in with some of the more, I guess, engineering specific elements of a project. And so working together to come up with those recommendations and agree on those recommendations earlier in the process is going to be very helpful. Again, those elements can have a large impact on right-of-way, which can then have a large impact on utilities and costs. And so working to get those items agreed upon and squared away early on can really help move a project forward. But you can see here, beyond complete streets, we have a number of facets that we need to look at. This is why, for instance, a small project, we may be able to document the confident scope and cost estimate much earlier. You could easily screen out a number of these items. So how would you go about doing this? The confident scope and cost estimate is going to be documented in a two-part process. The first process is what we're calling the project definition document. You can see a draft copy of the form here. This is going to be used to document the confident scope. It's going to include things like the project purpose and objectives, the project limits, typical cross-sections, and other facets of the project. The items in this document, the project definition document, are going to provide more detail than the STIP project. So for instance, the STIP may say widen facility A from X to Y to, and that may be it. Whereas here you would have, widen to 4 lanes with median divided and sidewalks on both sides of the street, as well as things related to the purpose and objectives, right? We're trying to achieve LOSD in our horizon year. So you'll find a lot more information about the project here than you will in the STIP. But again, we're trying to document those things here so that we have agreement on what the project is that we're pursuing. The goal is that once the project is approved or once the DPP is approved, the scope should not change. Obviously, minor tweaks may happen. Think of setting a limit as, say, Main Street, but then needing to go, say, 500 feet east of Main Street for something like a right turn lane. That's a minor tweak. Moving a mile to the east of Main Street with a couple of additional intersections, that would be something that would be much more significant that we would not be expecting to see. We can revisit the PDD if the project scope changes are required. So let's say you've identified your limits and a new development comes online that then requires some change. That would be a valid reason to review your scope changes. Changes of personnel, though, are not going to be seen as a viable reason for changing the scope. So that means if there's staff turnover, both at the department or locally, or new elected officials, those would not be reasons that we would see to revisit the project definition document. If changes do result in increased costs, adjustment to schedule for the project or other projects may be needed. Again, we're trying to balance those budgets, make sure everything can keep going. So we'll have those conversations as they go forward. But again, this is part of the reason why we're trying to document this confident scope is that should limit the magnitude of any of those cost increases, which should limit the number of times we need to have these conversations about project schedule changes. So our first step was documenting that scope. The second step is going to be updating the cost estimate. So you're seeing here confident scope and cost estimate, these two things coming together to achieve this step. That project delivery document will be submitted as part of the cost verification memos. This is how we document updated cost estimates within NCDOT. The CVM was one of our processes that we implemented based on the increasing project costs not too long ago. The costs will be updated, they will be documented in the CVM, and then what you see here circled in red is a new note that will be added to the CVMs once they have achieved that confident scope and cost estimate milestone. And you can see clearly here, it says this estimate is the confident scope and cost estimate CSCE for the project. So you'll have it here and we'll document it. So you'll be able to know if your project has achieved that level or not based on the CVMs. So that is how the process will be documented and implemented. Want to move on to how we're going to address this new milestone for projects that are currently in the scheduled for delivery portion of the STIP. So our goal is to make sure projects scheduled for delivery are continuing to move forward, which is why we're going to be focusing on those projects for the initial rollout of this CSCE milestone. As of a little more than 3 weeks ago, we had 475 projects selected through prioritization that are scheduled for delivery within the STIP. About 175 of those have achieved the right-of-way plan complete milestone. The reason why we're using that as a metric is that is closest to but beyond where the confident scope and cost estimate milestone will be. So any project that has achieved the right-of-way plans complete has by definition achieved the confident scope and cost estimate milestone. 300 have not yet achieved that RPC milestone. Most of these were scheduled for delivery from P3, P4, P5. We're going to be reviewing those and trying to determine if they have achieved that level, and if they have not, what needs to be done to help them achieve that confident scope and cost estimate milestone. Our expectation is that by September 30th of 2027, so that's a little less than 2 years from now, all projects that are scheduled for delivery should achieve their confidence scope and cost estimate milestone. If they are not, they may be subject to reevaluation in P9. So again, trying to keep those projects moving, make sure they're continuing forward. Projects that don't achieve that, whether they be NCDOT delivered or locally delivered, may be subject to reevaluation in P9. Obviously, we will be monitoring this. This is a new process that we're rolling out, so some exceptions may be granted, depending on how the project continues to roll out and specific circumstances related to the projects themselves. So what are NCDOT's next steps? We're reviewing that list of 300 projects that we mentioned previously to confirm if the 25% design plans and the CSCE have been achieved. We are also going to be reaching out to our MPO, RPO, and local governments regarding the September 27 expectation for projects selected through prioritization to achieve that goal. Remember, our goal is to continue to deliver those projects that are already programmed. The letters will be sent out to local governments with locally delivered projects subject to the 2027 expectation. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to come and speak with you today. One, to educate you on this new milestone, but two, also to make you aware that you may be seeing these letters. If you do not have a locally delivered project or locally administered project that was selected through prioritization, you'll not be seeing one of these letters. You know, manage your expectations accordingly. If you know you have one of those locally delivered projects that were selected through prioritization and you're not seeing these letters soon, let us know. If you do not, then you won't be getting one of these. But yes, we wanted to make sure that folks on our TCCs were aware of that, so that when they see those letters come in, they're not getting them out of the blue. They've got some understanding of where those are coming from. And so I know I ran through that kind of quickly, and I'm sure some of us are still processing that. But I want to take a moment here and offer to answer any questions that you may have on this milestone to understand it better or the implications of it.
Matt.
Hey, Brian, this is Matt Day. I was wondering what might be the role of an MPO in terms of developing that PDD document. Is that something that NCDOT is kind of doing off by itself? Or is there a role for the MPO for making sure that happens?
Yeah, I think that the MPO does have a role. I'm not sure if it needs to be in that coordination aspect or if it's NCDOT that would be coordinating that. But certainly NCDOT might go through the MPO or the TPO in this case, to achieve that coordination. What we want is all parties to, document that they agree on the scope. And so necessarily that should include the municipality and the MPO as part of that documentation process. Right? You should be coordinated with whether or not you all need to arrange that coordination, I'm not sure. But you should be part of those document or conversations.
Brian, do you have a sense of how many projects that this affects in Triangle West at this point?
I know we've looked at some of these, but unfortunately, no, I don't have a good number. We're in that process right now. Since this is a new milestone, we've been using that right-of-way plans complete milestone as sort of a screen. But there's a fairly large gap between, say, the environmental document being complete and the right-of-way plans being complete. And the 25% plans could even come maybe slightly before the environmental document, or maybe to be developed concurrently. And so, no, at this point in time, I don't have a great number, but we are actively reviewing that and we should have that soon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of one of the trade-offs that we were trying to balance here is, do we wait till we have better numbers? but maybe delay getting the information out or try and get the information out now. Knowing we might, be speaking to some folks who may not necessarily need to hear this right away. We erred on the side of what I would say is caution here, reaching out earlier, as opposed to waiting for that final number.
Okay. I mean, I know there will be some in this area. I just wasn't sure how many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember, let me see here. Let me see if I can.
Brian, this is David Wasserman.
Hey, David.
If you don't mind me jumping in here since I have the spreadsheet
Do
right.
you? Okay, good. Because I'm trying to open it while having Zoom and this presentation open.
So Colleen, if you don't mind me answering your question, there are 21 projects as of right now that do not have right-of-way plans complete. And so as Brian said, we are reaching out to the divisions to get further information to see whether they've achieved the competent scope cost estimate. Of those 21, 9 of them are locally administered projects.
Okay.
So again, as Brian mentioned, within the next month or so, we should have more information in terms of the status of those projects and whether they've achieved their competent scope or not.
Thank you. It does look like there might be some questions over chat.
Yeah, Doug's
Are
question.
you able to read those? Okay.
It looks like Doug's question is about what resources will be available. Doug, I don't think this is going to be a huge lift. It's more about documenting some of the work that's already been done. I hope this isn't too much of a lift for some of these projects. I'd be curious what resources you think you might need. Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Well, I think that the lift is going to be dependent in large part by the scale of each project. But given that there's been room for DOT coordination in the past, room for improvement, I wouldn't say that this is just, creating a packet of information. This will potentially, put decisions back in play. We'll need coordination with one or more local units of government, ideally, because, as even the projects that DOT needs this work done, there still should be a consensus from the impacted local communities that it's affecting, even if it's not a locally assigned project.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair, Doug. Is it just a matter of staff time? I mean, that sounds like what the resource. I think to me that's what I'm hearing that you think might be helpful. Is there other things?
Well, I mean, it's who at DOT is going to be tasked with this work. Is it going to be each division? Do they have the personnel in place to take on additional responsibilities? Is it going to be out of Raleigh somehow or by regions, or how's the rollout going to work, and how do we make sure that this doesn't add additional time to the project development process?
Yeah.
Because that time is, the lost opportunity resource is probably more valuable than the money in putting the coordination together, the time and staff and any additional work. Is if this adds 3 months to a big project, I'm just throwing something out there.
Yeah.
That cost is going to be significant. And that index you put up, the new FHWA index that replaced a previous product from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, does not necessarily include increases from right-of-way, which has been a major driver of a lot of our project escalations.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Doug, I think the way I see it, it may lead to some more coordination earlier on, but I think that should, for lack of a better term, clear the runway so those projects are able to get off the ground more rapidly afterwards. So I do not want to diminish your concerns about opportunity cost. I can see where you're coming from. I do think that this is one of those situations whereby getting that agreement earlier on, that should help make sure that we're all pulling in the same direction as those projects move towards final design, which should ultimately lead to them being delivered more quickly. That's my hope.
I mean, that's definitely a novel assumption that more requirements will mean the project happens faster. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
Yeah. I would say that the requirements lead to agreement, which leads to a smoother sale later on.
Has there been concern that, do you have any examples of significant projects that have gotten, past the, design plans and the right-of-way plans, and then there's not been agreement? I mean, if the agreement is the outcome, are we solving a problem that actually exists?
I'm not aware
Okay.
of that information, at least offhand. I don't know if David or others would have that.
Well, I mean, if coordination and dialed in cost estimates is the department's desired outcome for the work you're talking about today, then let's make sure that we complete that work in as efficiently and a timely manner as possible. And, if planning organizations have a role in that, let's make sure that we understand clearly what that is so that we can execute it appropriately when we're needed to. Or each local unit of government.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. And I think that's incumbent on us to, provide that information.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions, and I feel more reassured.
I'm happy, Doug. Hey, if we need to continue this, right, we're rolling this out. So getting the feedback and helping us adjust and fill those gaps is always helpful. So I'd be happy to continue the conversation, Doug, if you want to.
Well, I am sure we will, by the December MPO directors meeting in Charlotte, you'll probably have gone around to most of the MPOs by then to talk about this. I'm sure you'll be able to synthesize some feedback, and that'll be where all of the POs or MPOs across the state have had a chance to weigh in, and we can talk about what we think might be most effective for our roles.
That sounds like a really good idea.
Every once in a while I get one.
So the complete streets review is typically happening in this, am I understanding that correct? So in coordination with this,
Should be.
what is the process?
I'm sorry, the audio was not great for that
Okay,
question. Can you repeat
I
that?
was wondering when the timing of this occurs, as compared to the complete streets review. Which goes,
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in general, this would come after the complete streets review. It could potentially be concurrent depending on the complexity of the project. But my guess is this would likely come after the complete streets review. The complete streets elements would be one portion of the project information that would be documented in the DPP.
like there was one more comment, question in the chat, from Aaron about, you know, in, NCDOT willing to take comments from jurisdictions on the proposed changes for consideration.
A specific date, I think we'd be willing to take comments. As you have them, obviously sooner is better. But I don't want you to rush to not be thoughtful on those. So I don't know that there's a specific cutoff date.
Okay. When do you think the jurisdictions can get information about which projects specifically this affects? I mean, I can go and figure it out myself, but if y'all already have it, then it'd be good to get that information.
Yeah, I know we met with the division staff, I believe it was last Thursday, to discuss this and get them starting to look at that. So I know they're in the process of doing that right now. But I don't have a firm date on when they will have a final piece of information to share back.
Okay, is there what's the best way to share this information with local jurisdictions? Cause we don't always get a lot of information related to the cost verification memos, and other, documents as some of these projects are designed and the process.
Yeah. So Eric, are you asking specifically about the CSCE as a new milestone, or are you looking for like if the
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
so, yeah. How are those gonna be shared exactly?
Yeah. So one, I know Aaron asked that in the chat here if they're able to distribute a copy of the presentation, and absolutely, I think I've sent it on already. I can send it directly if anyone's wanting it, if that's easier. But then obviously too, those letters will be coming, alerting which of the local governments have projects that might be subject to this that have not yet met them.
I guess my question is more along, like further along the process, how are we gonna, if a new PDD is developed or a CSC or a CBM or any of the acronyms, when, are they gonna be emailed or sent to the local jurisdictions as well every time something's developed for a project, or how is that gonna work?
Yeah, so I think, and David, you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the plan is to store these on the project SharePoint as well. And so if you had access to that, I think that would be a way to obtain that information. And I didn't spend a ton of time in PMU, but I did spend a little bit. I think there should be somebody identified on that distribution chain from the local municipality for some of that information when it goes up. So I think that would be the best way to go about it. I'm always a fan of using existing communication networks as opposed to creating new ones, right? I think the existing ones work well, have a better chance of succeeding and sticking around.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else? All right, thanks, Brian.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
forward to that.
Yeah, appreciate the time. And again, if anyone has additional questions, comments or thoughts, please feel free to send those on. My email is bmwirt@ncdot.gov. Colleen or Philman or Eric should be able to get something to me if you don't have that email address. So happy to keep the lines of communications open on this. Want to try and make this as successful as possible for all parties here. So anything you have, we would appreciate it.
And we can send out Brian's presentation after this,
Yeah.
to those who didn't receive it.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. With that, we're on the consent agenda. Looks like it just includes the TC minutes and the 2026 meeting schedule. Any questions, comments, concerns? So not looking for a motion to approve.
So move on like we're trying.
Moved by Paul,
Second, Aaron,
second by Aaron, all in favor. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And with that, we're on to the first action item, destination 2035 MPP update and
So 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan then. So in October last month, we get all project list, multi-modal project list approved, and also together with MTP budget approved. So thanks all for your valuable comment and supporting for developing the project list and budget. So for this presentation, we will have an overview or brief of the schedule for the following task for the MTP and overview of the MTP related reports and elements. So that's today's presentation. The first things is for this month, we will ask for the pre-authorization to release the MTP report, 2055 MTP report for public comment, as well as pre-authorization to release the air quality conformity determination report, AQCDR, for public comments. So we estimate likely we will have these two reports ready sometime by end of this year, calendar year 2025. And over the holiday period, we will release it. For the MTP one, we need 45 days for public comment. For the AQCDR, we need 21 days for public comments. So after release this report, in January 2026, back to the meeting, we will conduct a public hearing for the MTP report and the AQCDR public hearing in January 2026. So February 2026, we will, after all the comment period finish, we will get as comment back together with a full report to ask adopt the 2055 MTP by resolution, also adopt AQCDR, air quality conformity determination report. So that's schedules for the 2055 MTP and following works. So it's close to the end for this round. So February, hopefully we get everything ready. We can adopt the MTP and the AQ report. So this slide shows generally the structures of the MTP report, how it looks like, what kind of element involved in the report. So starting very simple, starting from goal and objectives, and together we will get performance measure. With these goals and objectives for the report, we will have a project list, and we will have cost revenue sources and plans for there, and the land use data, definitely socioeconomic data, land use data, and also the MTP development process step by step. That's another element we should. The last one should be environmental just and air quality conformity. That's overall of the 2055 MTP report. So attached to the meeting material, we have a table of contents, detailed list of these elements will show in the report, 2055 MTP report. air quality background. So generally, air quality conformity determination report demonstrate the expect pollutants from transportation, only from transportation sector, will not exceed the established threats of the budget, we call it. That's first things in general, it does. And for the triangle region, we are now in a tenement area for areas. So it does not require strict air quality analysis, but there was a EPA court case extended the air quality ozone conformity requirement. So we have to do some sort of AQ report. So based on the EPA's determination, the level of emission and over time, its stabilities of these emissions, they have a limited plans, limited attainment plans for this area, so that we can use a short form for the air quality conformity report. So for short form, in generally, you don't need the air quality conformity modeling. In other words, we don't need to do the EPA MOS model. Although we may do some modeling around air quality for performance measure, but in generally for short form air quality analysis, it doesn't require the MOS model runs for supporting. So that's a background for this area. So the air quality report presents a regulation and guidelines from the high level by law. So that's the first part, it will show in this report. Second part is the responsibility of different agencies. So for our report, will be cooperated by 4 stakeholders in this area. 3 MPO, capital area MPO, Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, and Bollingrad MPO, together with NCDOT responsible for the RPO area. So that's a stakeholders for this report. All the 2055 MTP process will be there in the report, briefly mentioned there. And all the planning assumption, the fiscal constraint, MTP, and these we are showing in the report. And also their interagency consultation requirement. There are 2 levels of interagencies. 1 level at regional level, we have 4 stakeholders, as I mentioned already. And then there's up level from federal or state. We have to do the consultations to make sure all the process meets their needs and the law by law. So there is examples attached to these presentations. It's for, I think it's for the 2050 MTP amendment. We have to have air quality conformity report as well. So it's attached to this presentation file. So you can look how it looks like and what kind of contents inside. That's a report, you can see highlight in color. That's a link there. You can click, get that report. So SE data, socioeconomic data by TAZ, traffic analysis zone, and county. On the right, you can see the maps online shows the densities of jobs and densities of population by each traffic analysis zone pass or called it TAZ. That's online, we put online, you can look anytime. On the left, you can see there are 2 tables. The top table shows the job numbers growth for the by county for the whole area. So this time we made a small change for the table. So we already show this table from alternative analysis all the way to preferred scenario. The changes we made, a minor one for this table is we only shows the population and job in this two table for the TWTPO area. So in other words, when you look the last row of each table, it's total numbers for the TWTPO. So for example, if you look the job number is 592,000 jobs in the whole TWTPO area to the 2055. So the first table shows the growth from 2020 to 2055 for the job. And the second table, it shows household population. In other words, university students on campus is not there in this table. And shows the household population growth from 2020 to 2055. And in the TWTPO area, you can see the employment growth outpaced the population growth. The growth rate is 84% versus 49%. So the job grows fast than the population. Then we receive questions from our board members, I think at least two, asking, hey, you have this fast growth of job. Where this employees from? Where they live? Because population in our area grows less fast than these jobs. So we will answer this question in the following slide. So this will touch the triangle regional model. So this model is pretty new, a new generation. So in generally, it replaces the previous model we work with and we use for the MTP for many, many years. I think starting from 2000 or 2005, we use that model and update from time to time. Every MTP, we update that model. Until 2021, we start to develop this new generation 2 models. It's pretty new. The time is very short. We try our best to improve it from time to time. So in general, this model covers area as shown on the map on the right-hand side. It covers about over 5,000 square miles and with a population for 2020 about 2 million and 1 million jobs in the modeling area. It shows there. That's the area, model area we show there. And later on, capital area extend this model borderland for Johnston County further to cover whole Johnston County. And some other adjustment is not showing on this map. But generally, this is the basement for our generation 2 models. So what kind of feature was special for this generation 2 models? This new model consider more detailed information and data items, such as family characteristics like how many workers, how many children, income levels, and car ownership somehow, and ages. So in other words, it synthesizes whole population. Each household, there's one record in the model. It's not real, but it's synthesized based on the census data. There's a sample data set. We use that to synthesize the population. So each household get a record there in the models. That's very detailed and give us the abilities to better represent auto ownerships, how people travel, how the people make choice for travel. That's one example. We also, in this model, detailed models of work-related trips. For example, in the past, we only have the trips from home direct to the office location or your factory or your workplace. But in this model, we have not model that kind of trip, not only model that kind of trip, but also the trips from home to send your kids to school and from your school to work locations. So this kind of work-related trip are also modeled in this new generations model, generation 2 model, we call it TRMG2. So the two tables, the left-hand side table shows 2020 result, validation result. You can see how the modeled volume and the traffic count volumes, what kind of difference. And the last column shows the target. We want to control, for example, 5% of the freeway. The difference no more than 5%. The difference between the modeled volume and observed volume. Observed is from traffic count from NCDOT. So actually, you see for this model, we only get 0.5%, pretty well for the freeway. For principal arterial, a little worse, but still within the reasonable range or validation range. So that's a table shows the 2020 model. And the second table shows ride shape, how different the transit ride shape between the observed data from Go Triangle and other agency in the area and the modeled ride shape. It's very close overall. So this is a slide to answer the question I mentioned earlier. So for TWTPO area, we have fast job growth than the population growth. When we had a project in the past, for example, New Start, small start project with FTA, they said, hey, your area, the ratio looks not right. But that's the data we got. The job grows faster than the populations. This two slide actually there. One shows Durham County, where the employees in Durham County where they live. The first slide you can see for Durham County, 42.7% is live in Durham County itself. 34.8 from Wake County to Durham County, commuters. And from Orange County is 9% to Durham County. They live in Orange County, work in Durham County. So other county is the rest all together. There are about 13.5% from the rest of the counties. They live in the rest of county but work in Durham County. The second picture shows Orange County. So for Orange County, you can see 45.6% live in Orange County itself, and 19% from the Durham County, live in Durham County, work in Orange County. From Wake County is about 15% to the Orange County. The rest is 20% about. So that's answer the questions where these employees live, where they come to our area for work. So the last slide, it shows so we approved this objective of goal at beginning of the NTP process. It shows the time is November 2024. Yeah, we approved that one. And after the goals and objective is approved, we developed a set of performance measures. And after developing this set of performance measures, we try to generate the numbers for each scenarios during the MTP process. And here is examples. This table shows right-hand side of the table shows the performance measures with regard mostly to the second objective is. The goal for this is connected people and workplace, I think. Connect and people. This is goal. Second, based on that goal, we develop the objective is approved with regard second objective, achieve the zero disparities to access jobs, education, and other important destination by race, income, and other factors. So you can see COC, we still use the old terminology. Community of concern, we may change it in the disadvantage based on the new census data definition. you can see for this transit, community of concern with good or excellent transit access. 2020, 36%. 2055, existing pass committed scenario, it means we don't invest anything after 4 years, starting from now. We only take the ground we already have for the project ongoing, yeah. So, but after 4 years, we will not invest anything for that scenario, get 47 community of concern, get a good or excellent transit access. But for the final MTP draft scenario is 58% community of concern with good and excellent transit access. You can see a lot of improvement with the investment we put in the MTP plans. So that shows goals and objectively and performance measure. So unfortunately, we haven't fully finished the document. We will try to get it done by before the board meeting to send it out as a meeting material. So whole calculation was done last Friday afternoon. So we just to double check and make sure and reorganize everything to put a document with goals objectively together with a performance measure, feel popular with all the value for the performance measure. So that's a key elements for the MTP report. So that's all for this overview of the MTP work and elements for the report. So as you already see the schedule, likely it will get it done by end of this year or early next year. Based on the timing, we don't have time to ask approval to release this document in January because there's not enough time for public comment period. So we are asking recommendation from TC to the board to pre-authorizations to release all this MTP report and the AQ report. Any questions?
Any questions? Looking for a motion and to recommend the board pre-authorization.
So. Second.
All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Next on the agenda, amendment 1 from.
All right, how's it going, everyone? I'm Tom Satyan, and here to provide an update on our TRP. And I'll also have an update for a couple projects at the end as well. So just going to a bit of background, I'm sure you all know, TRP is a document that captures the schedule and funding for projects of all modes over the next 10 years. Stopped every 2 years, and between those 2 years, for any changes that are needed, was captured through amendments. So for this first amendment that we're bringing forth, I won't go through these just because we previously went through these when we released public comment, but one addition to this list is the bicycle detection loops over in Harborough, just updating the year for that to the current fiscal year. The public comment period went on throughout the month of October. We received 2 comments that unfortunately were not directly related to project updates in this amendment, but were more so for the TRP program as a whole. And then here's our schedule for adoption. I kept the graphic here to show that although Accelerated Amendment number 1 has lifted off, we're still trucking along with this first amendment. Be approved this month. And so, yeah, seek the recommendation for our board to approve it this month.
Phil, I need to request a correction.
Okay.
And for the VRT, it's showing a funding source of 5307 funds.
Mhm.
Those should all be 5309. We don't have any 5307
Okay.
funding for this project. I'm not sure if that was our mistake when it was submitted or if it
All right,
was.
so okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, unless The 5307 funding is what we're gonna explain it out.
Any other questions or comments on the tip amendment number one?
Is there a like nominal amount of 5307 on the central Durham DOT, $50,000? What is? And this may be a question for the city.
Yes.
I thought it was all funded with the transit plan, but that seems like such a minor amount. Like, what is the purpose of that?
I'd have to go back and look. Think that we were close with that.
But like, there's no requirement of federal funding.
Anybody else?
Well, do you want to leave that $50,000 on there, or is that gonna federalize it, which is gonna cause us a problem?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of my question. Is it federalized then? Like,
It's got $1, it's
Yes.
federalized.
Yeah, I don't wanna,
did the city submit it that way on purpose for a reason?
I don't know.
That is how it was submitted, yes. Whether or not they realize it, we can always bring it back to discussion, review it.
I mean, I would be surprised if Central Durham BRT didn't become federalized at some point in the future, so I wouldn't think that would be an issue to have it federalized, but.
Right, and I didn't put together the submission, so I don't feel comfortable making a decision to change it. Could we have 48 hours to submit something to the TC that explains it? Yeah, will the TC then allow it to move forward without us changing it today? I don't feel comfortable changing it today, but we can answer that question within 48 hours, if that is enough time to continue it to move forward, and to amend it to move forward to the board.
Yeah, as long as the overall TC is okay with moving forward.
Getting that clarification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it's more of a question, right? But
Right.
I don't know that I have a concern about it.
Right.
What is?
Just making sure you're comfortable.
Right.
And I have no idea why that $50,000 is on there, so someone may have made that decision that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, just.
Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt. This is Erin Conberry online. Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Hey, great. I just wanted to share some information on the I think it's the audio was a little hard to hear, but I think there were questions about the federal funds on the Central Durham BRT.
Yes.
So that is in order for FTA to do a NEPA review, there have to be federal funds attached to the project. And so I believe the idea was to put a small amount of federal funding on that so that we could work with FTA on some preliminary NEPA review, which would then position us if there were to need to be federal funding on the project in the future, we would have been in a position to start some of that.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Figure everything out.
Would you like that in a memo in the next 48 hours? I need to write a memo.
No, it's okay.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank. With that, we're looking for a recommendation for board adoption.
So moved.
Moved by Becca,
Second.
second by Aaron, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's the.
Yeah, so as far as the update, so I know there is training that everyone's looking forward to next week. Unfortunately, our main guest presenter has conflict, and so we'll need to reschedule the training. But right now, we're looking for early December, but I'll be sending out a poll on this meeting with different dates as well as more information about the application process, the memo, starting kicking off, and just any other details. Thank you all.
That we're on to
Present from here, if that's
Sure.
okay with you guys. Just make it a little easier than having to walk up there.
express design selection for P9 round 1. You're up.
Yes, so going along with the project delivery theme today, I'm gonna talk with you a little bit about. We're at the phase in our, we're already getting ready for P9, even though we just finished P8. So Phil Munn had given you guys a sneak preview of this back in August. This is a new requirement for P9 that each MPO or RPO and DOT highway divisions get a certain number of projects submittals to the feasibility studies unit for express design. And so I'm gonna share with you on the next slide. What projects, we have to submit them essentially in 3 groups. And so our first group of submittals is due in November. Just a little refresher, why are we doing express designs? Because most projects that are submitted to SPOT are really in that like planning level phase. The SPOT process does not review projects for constructability, feasibility, or cost. And we're feeding projects into a financially constrained state with the SPOT process. And so having a better cost estimate going in will really help us with that. The rise, as costs have continued to rise, having a well-balanced STIP. Next slide. So for the purposes of Triangle West, here's a little overview. We have 9 projects, or 9 slots for express design requests. There are 3 rounds of selection. As I mentioned, the first round is due in November. Our second round will not be due until May 2026, and then the final would be in September 2026. So we'll get 3 projects that we submit with each round of selection. Our current 2055 MTP that we've been working on is not yet adopted, but it will be by the time we get to the second round. So it might look a little different, what we're gonna recommend for future rounds, but for the purposes of this round, we're gonna use the projects that were submitted for P8. And so my next slide, if you don't mind. Okay, yeah, we're here in the process. Go ahead. So we took the P8 highway project list. We're only doing express designs for highway projects. We looked at the guidelines from DOT. I've got some of those slides at the back of this presentation if you guys have questions about, more detailed questions about what those guidelines were. And we took out projects that have had an express design in recent years. And so we're left with about 9 projects, which is the same number of slots that we have to submit. Because we also, one thing that we're recommending to do is if we have 2 projects that are on the same border, we can combine those into one project for the purposes of express design. So we had one project like that on NC 98. And then we ranked them in order of P7 score, starting at the regional level and then division level. So next slide, Suman. These were the 8 projects that we ended up with. So NC 98, we combined 2 projects. That was the highest scoring one. Number 2 is an intersection project at Duke University Academy and Cameron Boulevard. And then downtown loop 2-way conversion project in Durham. So there, but you know, this is the full list of potential express design projects that we looked at. Next slide. So we're recommending at this point, moving forward with these 3 for our first request for express design slots. Next time, or for the next round, what what we're gonna recommend is take that full adopted 2055 MTP project list and put, look at that and see if we need to add any of those to the, potential project list. Combine that with that P8 highway project list, and then, we're not sure exactly what this would look like yet. It really depends on the universe of projects, but trying to have some sort of geographic equity with the projects we're submitting, so they're not just all coming from one jurisdiction. So at this point, this is a recommended action. Eric, I know you might have some thoughts, so.
Yeah. So we looked at the city brought up the full spreadsheet, and there were two projects on Roxborough for different sections that were access management type projects, and I guess it had an express design completed years ago, and the city was not aware of these express designs. We, got our eyes on them like, yesterday/today, and looked at them, and they weren't from 2021, they're actually from 2018, so they were very dated. I guess there might have been coordination done with the city, I don't know, that was long before my time, but we were hoping to get a new express design of those. One, since, the next spot won't be for another year and a half or so, they would be more dated by then. Two, we'd like to be, involved in the process of, coordinating those projects, so. I guess the question to the TPO is, would those take up submittal slots if we were to get those redone?
From what I understand, they probably would take up submittal slots, but we can confirm. If updating an express design, that's another one counts as a slot. I know you're the expert in the express design process.
If it's just a cost estimate, then it would not take up a slot, but if we redo the design, then it would.
We'd want to probably redo the design.
Okay,
Well, that's changed since 2018.
yes, certainly, including all the people involved, or most of them.
So are you saying that you're trying to figure out whether to swap out those for the ones that are stored higher?
Those are.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, but all right.
And then I just want to say that there's one other project that wasn't on that list, the Duke Street project from I-85 to West Carver. That does not have a good express design either, and that was fairly high scoring project. So I guess my recommendation would be, if we're trying to go from a top-down approach, would be to take the two Roxborough projects plus the NC98 combined project as the three projects for express design.
So I think we're back. Okay.
So are you saying can you go to the one slide with the three, if you want to submit three projects in this route, are you saying to remove the downtown loop?
Yeah, and the Duke University.
And the Duke University.
Academy. Yeah, at least for this round, yeah.
It's fine, I mean, it's fine with us. It's really our, the TC's recommendation on how to move forward with this process. It's the first time we've done this. All the other MPOs are in a similar position, kind of making it up as we go along in a certain way, so.
Do you have the spreadsheet you can maybe pull up or?
Say one of those further slides.
The spreadsheet's not, it's
Okay.
one of the attachments to the agenda.
I can pull that up real quick.
They can add Duke Street, A7.
Maybe the next round. We're thinking about the two Roxborough projects. They're not connected, that's why we would combine them, the two sections. And the NC98 combined project.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, so that express design, Eric's saying, was not done in 2021, it was 2018.
Correct.
So it's amazing.
And just so make sure I'm clear, The ones that you chose for your three, were those the highest scoring? Is that why?
Those are the highest scoring of the projects that had not had an express design done at that.
Okay.
So
what about like this A chord here? Like, does that get bumped into consideration if
So
we're
that-
talking about making changes?
that one actually gets off on a technicality. It does not need an express design
Okay.
because of the cost and the type of project. So, yeah, it's an exception to the express design. If it's under $10 million and it's a. signal
Oh, sorry,
system
I missed your notes here. It's
I know,
very
it's
far.
okay.
I just blew up so far. Got it,
So-
okay.
So Eric, which one are you guys looking to do? A1?
A1 and A5.
There's only 5. And the ones that would be knocked out are A6.
A6 would be combined with A.
Oh, okay,
A6
A6 and A8. Okay, so it'd be A10 and A11 that would be knocked out.
Yeah.
Higher scoring. So,
That, I think that follows the methodology as presented, if everyone is comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I would like to see something that distributes these nine, in a way so that all nine aren't going to Durham, would probably be the case.
Most of these are Durham projects on this list.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any way to bundle some of the ones together that are other places differently, if that would be a way to look at them. I'm just considering that a couple of these are in Hillsborough or right along Hillsborough to be bundled.
We can look into, how we can approach that. I know a lot of the potential Destination 2055 projects that would be added are, Orange County
Yeah.
projects too.
I'm just wanting to distribute it. If we could bundle any of those with the system wide signal.
Is there any benefit or difference in the three different submittals? Like, are the first three more likely to
No,
get funded because they're already
not necessarily. They're just not making us select on all of them. So we get to kind of work through it over the course of the year. But I do believe there's we can submit one project that doesn't have an express design in P9. Like there are some additional things. So we'll probably still have 17 slots for P9 like we did in P8. Several of these already have an express design. We get 9 express design projects and we can submit one that doesn't have to have an express design.
More than that for this round.
Okay, more than that.
In future rounds, that would be the rule, but for this P9, you're decent.
Okay, so we get some freebies.
Buy one, get
We still have to select 17 projects, but, there's some flexibility around the express design requirement. Matt's making a funny face behind you.
There are still some. As it has to do with how many previous ones you had. Basically, you have to have at least a number of express designs equal to your number of slots. So if you had a bunch of pre-existing express designs, I think those do count towards your total.
It's very complicated, everyone, yeah.
just submit.
We can submit at least one that doesn't have one, but it's moving forward, every project that gets submitted needs to have an express.
They're trying to move that
That's
around.
projects, yeah.
Yeah, just highway projects now.
Only highway projects,
The,
which we don't have as many of.
correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but the jurisdictions can also, do the design as long as it comes with a cost estimate approved by DOT. As well, so maybe one of them
Yeah.
down the list is the Mango and Roxborough two-way conversion. That's probably gonna be done by the city rather than DOT express design process.
Okay, so that's true, and one of the future positions that, we're working with the board on adding to the TPO would be someone who has experience doing express designs that could complete them on behalf of our members. In addition to what DOT through feasibility studies unit provide. So we're not as limited as, we're not only limited to 9, we just have to pick 3 right now.
Colleen, could we pick 3 now that were suggested off the list and include some indication that when we come back later in the year, we want to have greater variety across the whole year?
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I like to note is that we're also going to incorporate how we select these into point methodology and also like the guidelines for certain projects. We just don't have time to with a deadline right now.
Yeah, as far as documenting the process moving
Yes.
forward, yes.
Yeah.
That'll come in January. So we can use your recommendation and incorporate that into what we present in January for the federal and third-party methodology.
Am I remembering correctly, though, to Eric's point, that you could pay for your own essentially express design? It would be great to maybe go over the criteria for that. And I say that because I know Carver, we had our town engineer prepare something, and there was a question about the way the estimate was laid out, and we had to go back and manipulate some things a little bit.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
having a little fact sheet or information sheet about that would be really.
yeah, that'd be helpful for us to the cost estimate part.
Absolutely. Okay.
I mean, you're well over your time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My presentation was short. I think I'm just waiting for a motion.
Yeah, so I get the motion is to approve the 2 Roxborough projects plus the 1998 combined project and we'll revisit the projects for on the next round.
So I think that second part we're doing anyway.
Yes.
The motion is to approve those 3 projects
So,
or recommend approval. Move by-
Recommend the approval, thank you.
Okay.
Second by Sarah, all in favor? Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
Thank you. More to come.
Moving along, fiscal year 27 planning work program, and that's
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Tom Porter. I'm a transportation planner with Triangle West. And I'll be talking about our FY 27 draft unified planning work program. So a lot of this is going to be pretty similar to what the GC saw in, when was that, September? Feels like a million years ago. So I'll keep this a little higher level, but obviously if there are questions, happy to dive into some of this. Yeah, so first off, just refresher, what exactly is the Unified Planning Work Program? And so the UPWP is Triangle West's annual budget and funding document, right? This is something that's required by federal regulation. It's not something that we do for fun. But like any budget kind of does, it defines and guides our planning priorities over the course of a given year. So in this case, FY 2027. And funding for this primarily comes from Federal Highway and from FTA. So talk a little bit about the kind of funding sources briefly. So we have kind of 2 main, I guess, umbrellas of funding. We have our Federal Highway funding, our FHWA, and our FTA funding. And so under FHWA, we have 3 main buckets, the biggest of which is our STBGA funds. I just can't say that quickly, but it stands for Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, Direct Attributable. These are flexible funds, can be used for consultant studies, planning, infrastructure, transit service. It's available for MPO staff and member planning studies. And to unlock these funds, a 20% local match is required. Metropolitan planning funds or PL funds are similar, available to MPO staff for planning. Also, a 20% match is required to use these funds. And then finally, far and away our smallest bucket under the FHWA heading, our safe and accessible transportation options funding, or Y410. And so this is available to MPO staff for planning related to complete streets. And this is 100% federally reimbursed, so there's no local match required to use those funds. That does make it just a little bit different. Under our FTA heading there on the far side, or at least far side for me, we have our 5303 funds. And so these are available for MPO staff and member planning studies related to transit activities. And to use this, again, 20% local match required to use those funds. And so where are we in the development schedule? Well, we're getting down to it. Today, of course, you all are receiving the final FY27 UPWP. This will go before the board in about 2 weeks' time. After which it'll go to NCDOT at the end of January, and then NCDOT will approve the final document at the end of March. So long ways away after this, but really November is kind of the end of this process for us. So in FY27, this is, I think, maybe the only slide that changed. For FY27 special studies, we'll have one special study programmed into the 27 UPWP, at least right now. I'm sure, as you all know, we can amend the UPWP, do administrative modifications and things like that. So we're not saying never, but we're saying for right now, the NC54 study will be included. And that study will include a safety and multimodal analysis of NC54, the area, including Research Triangle High School and Park Offices Drive. And that corridor study will create a long-range vision for NC54, incorporating plans for the future RTP mobility hub and future BRT lines that will touch that corridor. So that's, long story short, kind of what the NC54 study is about. We do expect some special studies from previous UPWPs to continue into FY27. So from 26, this just recently changed because of our amendment, amendment number 2 to the FY26 UPWP, but we'll have the UNC Cogen Rail Corridor feasibility study being worked on, in addition to the RTP Rail Platform feasibility study and the US 15501 corridor study. And we will have one study continuing from FY25, and that'll be the US 70 East corridor study, phase 2. So in terms of big changes, one of them is aesthetic. It's a change to our budget. And so included with, I hope everyone's agenda packets are our budgets, the TPO wide budget, as well as our staff budget. The TPO wide one will have the little special studies table at the bottom. Just, you don't have to review it for this exercise, but just to give you an idea, if you do look at it, you will not see this anymore. These are our old kind of budget lines. They describe some of the work we do well, some of the work we do, not so much. And so they've been updated to look like this. And so this better explains the work that we do as a TPO, better explains our efforts, how money is being used, things like that. They're all very important. Very quickly, I'll just kind of break it down, but the top part here, this first section, is the stuff we're required to do, right? So stuff like the UPWP, which we're talking about right now, but the MTP, tip, spot, things like that. Our second category about strengthening partnerships. So this is about supporting our members, supporting local decision-making, targeted studies, right? Third, legislative dialogue about strengthening kind of our engagement work at both the state and federal level. Fourth, community education and attainment. This is where a lot of our engagement, outreach, things like that are going to live. The fifth category, resiliency, having to do with organizational resiliency, about making our organization work, but also the people that run the organization, kind of putting them in the best position to succeed. And finally, infrastructure stewardship. And so this is where project development and a lot of data-driven initiatives are going to live. So think, our GIS, things like that. The other major change, which we've talked about before, will be the creation of a funding reserve. So starting in FY27, the TPO will request an additional 2% of the gross budget to achieve 6 primary goals. And I can go into the details about this a little bit if you want, but right, the idea here, creating financial stability, making sure that the TPO can respond to emergencies should they arise, smoothing out or helping smooth out cash flow, right? Money goes out, may not come in real quick. So you gotta make sure that the TPO can operate while you're waiting for that money to come back. And in doing these kinds of things, like doing the funding reserve, right, helps with service level protection, right? If money's not coming in real quick sometimes or for whatever reason, right, you want to make sure that level of service remains the same regardless of what things are happening outside of our walls. Having a funding reserve also helps with credit ratings. If you have money, right, you're viewed as a good steward of your funds. This reflects well on us. And intergenerational equity, the idea that, right, if there are, well, we will be financing future projects, right, that those costs aren't passed on to a future version of us or a future version of the TPO, that we can kind of balance that cost out between now and later. And so this is the 27 UPWP member match. Shared this at the end of September, so nothing has changed from that presentation. I did try to make the text bigger for the 27 anticipated match. That might be the only change. But other than bigger font, everything here remains the same. And so with that, today, looking for the TC to recommend that the board adopt the FY27 Unified Planning Work Program. And then the board, of course, will see this on November 18th and will ask them to adopt the 27 UPWP. And so with that, are there any questions?
This might be a question for Colleen. The express discipline person that you just talked about, are they included in this increase, or is that another increase for next year? Because that will probably be a pretty pricey position.
Oh, I will.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would. Because we're anticipating that person, and it might even be one that well, I'm not gonna speak to that. That's Doug.
Okay.
Sorry, I was trying to find the mute on my phone. So the current year PWP amendment that we are processing includes a half year's funds for that position, and the 2027 program carries that position forward through the whole program. It also, the 27 program includes another full position that was authorized, or that we anticipate will be directed through our strategic plan. And then we'll include 6 months worth of funding to start the third of the 4 positions that we hope to have to implement the strategic plan. So those will be carried forward, but we didn't think it was realistic to try to onboard multiple positions all at once and figure out how they fit into our work group. So we're giving us some time to absorb that. And then also we're trying to spread out the ask time-wise with the members so that, you know, we're not coming back and saying, okay, we have a strategic plan, pay for everything it possibly could include right now, because we're not going to do it all right now. We need to be thoughtful and prioritize the different resources. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll just conclude with, while I understand the need for the increase, it is a notable increase for a smaller jurisdiction. And it's a challenge that you find yourself either accepting these increases or not participating, and then putting the ability in federal government kind of at risk. So it's just challenging. I just feel like I feel obligated to just say that on behalf of my organization and its residents.
Noted.
So do I understand that correctly? There's 4 positions for a express design position that has already, you said, been funded halfway through this year, so it would be a full year next year. A strategic plan, like manager or something, like, or to do it?
No, there's the sort of advanced project modeling position, i.e. the express design, the cost estimation stuff, working on our congestion mitigation process. That'll be what we hope to hire for at the beginning of calendar 26. Then at the beginning of fiscal 27, we hope to bring on a communications officer for that year. Then beginning of calendar 27, we do not have any administrative capacity on our team. And it, you know, our team does a great job, I think, but it would be helpful if we had a professional set of hands with business systems and, you know, being able to help us set up functions, and we're not relying on planners to do a lot of those tasks. The last position, which we would probably look at the beginning of fiscal year 28, and we've still got some time to evolve it, is, so those are the 4 positions we would like to see resulting while we implement this strategic plan.
So the TDM position, if that begins in FY 28, that's not included here, so it's,
No,
and.
no.
And the express design is already authorized, it's just kind of like continuing to next year, so it's the communications officer and the administrative position number 2.
Yes, so there's a full year position of the PIO. There's a half year position of the office manager, administrator, whatever we determine to classify it as. The other increases that are notable in the 27 proposal that are local funds only are the provision of $75,000 for legislative outreach and lobbying efforts that can't be federal. They have to be completely separate. And then the fund balance development that we're asking for to help us energize our fund balance growth. So those are, you know, if the question is, why is this more expensive? Those are your answers. That's where the real difference is. So, and in general, we haven't, we've tried to keep our ask for our partners as low as we can. And I feel like, you know, this is a big increase. There are some things that, you know, of course, if we don't spend the money, you know, take, for example, if we have 15501 as a corridor study, we still have the money that the members have already given us to match the federal investment. So we're not asking for that again. We're trying to just keep everything going forward and using the funds the best we can for why you've shared them with us, but also keeping in mind sort of the future stability of the organization.
Got a question. Doug, this is Bergen. When you say the positions were authorized, can you explain what that means? Like, what does that process look like?
Well, the positions were suggested by the strategic plan. Of course, they're not, you know, I guess I'm not sure that I used authorized. Maybe I did. You know, I think that it's, if the board adopts a strategic plan that says, you know, do these things, then it's up to me and us to figure out how to implement them. And this would be the direction of how to start doing that, you know, a year away.
Will the TPO be able to share like an org chart with the recommended proposed positions, or does that exist already? I just missed it.
Sure, we can put one together for you.
What was the question there?
So we can see an org chart with the proposed position.
To
I think
follow
that's
up
a
on
great
what,
suggestion, Eric.
to follow up on what Tina said, I think that the number of positions might be hard for some of the smaller organizations to hear when they're really strapped on budgets already this year. That's kind of the picture that we're getting. Just that number seems like a lot compared to the things that some of the smaller organizations are able to do in a year.
I mean, it is, but also at the center of the strategic plan is an effort to provide, direct and explainable value for the investment. We're talking about people, coordinating express designs, these additional requirements, performing some of our tasks, balancing them in-house versus out of house, depending on what's available and what's the most efficient for us. In the past, we've hired a contractor to do a lot of the congestion mitigation process work because we didn't have the capacity in-house. This will help with that, but it's not a directed position just to do that. We want to participate and help conduct safety audits. That a lot of our communities are, very passionate about, and we just don't have those resources right now. So it's not as if I don't want the TC to think that we're out trying to say, we need to add more staff. Let's come up with ideas. It is, we're hearing that there are things that our members would like us to be able to support them with. And this is part of that response. If in the end we have to defer a change, maybe we get to 2027, there's still no federal budget, our authorization is continuing instead of growing, then it would be a reposition on this. And also, like I said, keep in mind, any money we don't spend, if it's for a specific task, we keep it and apply that forward on that task. But as money comes in, it is, our fund balance is the members' fund balance in their investment in us. I take that very seriously, and it's important for our financial future, but not, it's an acknowledgement that it's really the members' contribution to that. It's not our money once we get it. It's to continue to do work on your behalf.
If you were to spread out the increase in staffing along a longer period of time, is there is there something you would propose?
That was in 6-month increments. If we did, and I have prioritized them, I think in a logical way. If we did extend it longer, then we would continue to be limited, and that's okay. We can continue to work on that, but it may mean that there are some some tasks that we have not done the best we can, but we're trying to complete them to be responsive to everyone's needs. If, it may be that we're not able to continue to do that because we're still even implementing these 4 positions, the work we're doing now without adding anything to it oversubscribes the staff. But acknowledging that we're going to need to do the best with whatever we get. This effort, and I chose to not, working with the consultants, to not ask to grow our staffing program with our existing work program. This is only growing staffing as we add items and build out items in our current work program. Or, excuse me, future work programs.
When is the strategic plan supposed to be completed?
We shared a draft with the board, and I believe we are looking at having them adopt it in January, and presenting it as an adopted item in our portfolio to the TC in February, because we don't meet in December. That's when we would do it.
The action is to recommend board adoption. For a motion to recommend board adoption.
So
Moved by Aaron,
second.
second by Paul, all in favor,
Aye.
any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. With that, we're on the info items, local agency project report, colleague.
All right, back in action. I will go quickly. I know you guys know most of this information. This report is really for the board, but obviously we want you all to see it as well. It's that time of year again. We do this twice a year per our adopted federal funding policy. Give a report on the locally administered projects. These projects are administered by you all. They're mostly by PED projects. They are federal funding with a 20% non-federal match, and then we partner with NCDOT staff to support these lab funds. Next slide, Simon. You guys know all this information, so I won't go into detail. Continue. These are the typical project delivery steps. You'll see these on the slides after this, and there are some details that include these in the attached report. Project setup, design engineering, right-of-way phase, construction phase, and project closeout, which can take a while. Continue. These are federal funding sources as of right now. Some of these, in particular, carbon reduction program is going away. So this will probably change for our next report. We have 52 projects in various stages of development. We have a lot of projects that were added during our last call for projects that are mostly still in project setup phase. So I'll go quickly. We do have some projects that have moved from one phase to another during this report. So that is my message for this, is we are making project delivery progress. Yay! Town of Carborough's has one under construction, and then two newer projects that are in their project setup phase, and a few that are still working their way towards the municipal agreement EV projects that were selected through prioritization. Next slide. Chatham County, one project working on getting some electric vehicle charging stations. That one was funded in 27, I believe, so we're still getting that one set up. Next. Chapel Hill, closing out a couple projects, and we've got some new ones under construction on this side. So moving right along. Next slide. City of Durham, still working through project closeout for 3 projects, and then downtown wayfinding program is under construction. And now this one, I have it under Durham County, but I know there's more than you all involved in this. So this is a NCDOT administered project on behalf of Durham County, Person County, and City of Durham are all partners to this, so, that project's getting set up right now.
The right of way should be purchased on the government. Super excited.
Very exciting. All right, next. Orange County, working on closing out the, bus shelters. And Go Triangle, we have finally made it through the flex process for several of these projects. Congratulations, Paul. So we have some, I think, 3 new projects under design that weren't in the last report. So exciting.
And actually, Orange County, one of the bus stops is finished. One of them on campus was not moved forward
Next.
because of, we have to move the retaining wall. Campus didn't like that, but the one at NC 54 Meadowmont is in design.
Great.
And I shot that project once it's done.
Exciting. And then, new project in Research Triangle Park, Amy's working on that one. Working its way through municipal agreement project setup phase. Next, I think that was it. So good news on our mobility forward study. We are working on finalizing our federal funding agreement with the Federal Highway Administration. So we should be hopefully getting a request for letter of intent out in the next couple of weeks on that one. So it's been a long time coming and we're glad that the funding is gonna flow on this one soon. That's all. Any questions? All right. Next one kind of goes with this one, but I think David's gonna give an intro.
Good afternoon, everyone. David Miller, Transportation Planner with Triangle West. As Colleen said, this next presentation is an extension of the LAP update. So our federal funding policy also requires an update to the TDM program that our MPO helps fund twice a year. And to help that presentation, we are joined online by Shuchi Gupta from Central Pines and Molly DeMarco from UNC Chapel Hill. So Shuchi, you should be able to share your screen.
Joe, thank you, David. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Oh. Is it, I'm not sure, is it in the presenter mode? Do you all see it as a presenter mode?
No.
No.
Okay. Maybe I'll stop sharing it. Just a second, sorry about that. Just probably put it in the presenter mode. Yeah. Just not used to working maybe in the, on Zoom. We generally work on Teams, but okay. Is it okay if I go ahead like that? I don't think I can figure it out. David, is that okay? Is
Sure,
it good?
it's fine. Yeah, we can see the slides.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Thank you so much for being willing to have the presentation like that. And my name is Shuchi Gupta. I work as a planner at Central Pines in their mobility and transportation focus area. Happy to be here and provide an update on Triangle Transportation Choices grant program. And as David said, being a grantee of the flexible funding recipient, we are supposed to be here to provide an update twice in a year. I just have a few slides, just one on about the grant program. It's a TDM grant program, and it's an outreach and education program. Infrastructure is not covered. The goal of the program is to encourage the residents to shift from single occupancy vehicles to any of the alternate commute modes like biking, walking, transit, telework, whatever meets their needs. And we are very grateful for the steadfast support of Triangle West for this program and for CPRC since, the program was established back in 2007. They have provided funding consistently for this program, and also they have provided strategic guidance for the program by having a Triangle West member on our oversight committee. David is that oversight committee member right now, and we're just so thankful for his continued engagement and inputs that he provides by being that member. As you can see, the grant budget, it's roughly 1.8 million, and Triangle West provides 1/3 support of that. Campo and DOT are the two other funding members, and they also roughly provide 1/3 of funding annually. We have about 12 grantees in the Triangle West region. We have a total of 20 grantees in the program right now. And 7 of the grantees in the Triangle West, they're traditional grantees. We call them traditional grantees because they've been longstanding grantees, and they're a mix of municipalities and universities. The community-based members, we have 5, and we have a slide here to show you, the spectrum of these members. Arise Collective, Habitat for Humanity, they're presenting today. Black Girls Do Bike, Al Santro, they're all our community-based members doing just phenomenal work under the grant. And then we have the other members like Central, Duke, UNC Chapel Hill. And now I have a slide here. We wanted to share with you that we are getting very close to release our annual RFP for funding. We are working through the last round of edits and plan as of now to release the RFP on November 21st if everything goes as planned. We are also intending to hold a virtual RFP information session on November 24th. We would be recording that session and putting it on our TDM webpage on the CPRC website. And what we are hoping is that you all can promote that RFP with your members, because we would definitely like more and more organizations to apply for the grant program. We will be sharing those details with David so that he can communicate moving forward. And now just moving on to the last and probably the most interesting piece that you all will enjoy is we have Professor Molly DeMarco with us. She has been leading the community-based organization partnership between Habitat for Humanity for Orange County and Fork. And she's a professor at UNC Chapel Hill, Gillings School of Global Public Health at UNC. And we are so fortunate to have her today, to share her experience and her story of TDM program. And before that, just one slide to say, this is my contact info. If you have any questions regarding the program, about the RFP, I'll be happy to help there. And now I'll hand it over to Molly.
Thank you, Suchi. Thanks everyone for still being here at this time. I didn't know the meeting actually went this long. And thank you for the opportunity to present. How does that look? Thanks, Suchi. Yeah, y'all. So I'm here representing my team at UNC, our Fork team, and also this, and also Habitat for Humanity of Orange County. There's a number of us working on this project. You can see pictures might be small, but this is our team. We do a lot of things related in our personal life and in our work life to biking and taking the bus and dressing up for Halloween. You may see some more pictures of me later dressed up this Halloween. We just finished our first year with these grant funds. We started in Weaver's Grove. It's a new Habitat for Humanity community in northern Chapel Hill. And this year, in our second year, we're starting with 3 to 5 more, depending on how you count them, Habitat for Humanity communities, also in various parts of Orange County. We have 3 core activities that we're doing. One is social marketing. This is, some of you have probably heard, maybe everybody knows, social marketing is sort of like an ad campaign, but it's to get people to take up a health behavior. And in this case, for us, it was riding the bus. We did a lot of having discussions with our community partners in Weaver's Grove about, what makes them get around the way they do and what might make them get around in other ways. These are some different sort of taglines that we developed with our community partners in Weaver's Grove. But this is the one we went with. And I dropped a link for those of you online. I dropped a link to this story map that one of our students at UNC did for us. We developed for Weaver's Grove in particular the Weave Your Way campaign. It's the Weaver's Grove logo is that like gray tree thing in the back, and then we superimpose this icon of different modes of getting around. And we've been using that on swag, but on signs encouraging walking, etc. So I encourage you to check out the story map later. We also do travel training and have developed a travel training curricula in both English and Spanish. We've worked with another grantee, El Centro, on the Spanish version. So, we do things that are typical for this kind of grant, working on how to increase confidence in traveling to different places without a car. Talking about how that improves health through increased physical activity. I am a public health professor. And also reducing car usage. A couple of these images here were all these images. So the one that says travel training and development, that's our intervention. We actually have a document that we take out to communities. We've worked with the Weaver's Grove community about where they want to go on the Chapel Hill transit route that serves them. That's the T route. And then we've made maps that highlight specific places they want to go and where they start from. The third picture here is actually, we have a map we got from Chapel Hill, the town of Chapel Hill, printed out, and we literally just look at it and look at the routes, look at the bike paths, look at where you can walk, and help people think through travel coaching, how to get around. Our last thing that we do with all our communities is bike riding facilitation. We've had bike repair events, bike skills workshops. We've done social rides in the community, helped people practice putting their bike on the bus. And that's a picture with bus operator Pat White, and she's showing the community how to put on their bike on the bus. We also, actually, that's Jason Merrill in the middle there, who is a ace bike mechanic, but also a Carborough Town Council member. And then we were also giving out bike lights, helmets, and helping people fit their bikes to them. So just a few more brief things. Successes in our first year. We were able to hire and pay 5 community liaisons in Weaver's Grove. So these are Habitat for Humanity, either current homeowners in that community or future homeowners in that community. We were able to get them all bikes, partnering with the recyclery. We also have a lot of partnerships we've drawn on. Some of you in the room are online. Town of Chapel Hill and Carborough, the bicycle coalitions, Back Alley Bikes, the transit organization, some other I mentioned, some sort of, I guess, outside the box ones. Fleet Feet has come and promoted walking and walking mechanics, and Breakthrough Physical Therapy has come to our walking events to help people think through if they have injuries or stress or on body parts that they want to do some assessment and adjustment, and the PTs have done that. We also have started working with Hope NC. If any of y'all are familiar with that, they focus on individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they will have some homes in the Weaver's Grove community. We actually have an event on November 23rd to highlight the walking path in Weaver's Grove. It's called the Turkey Trot, and we'll be out there working with that community as well. The other thing, a sort of breakthrough we had, and this image is gives you an idea. There, between the New Habitat community, Weaver's Grove, and the high school, and that's where there's the closest Chapel Hill Transit bus stop is on high school property. There's another neighborhood in between the two, and this is a neighborhood that was not terribly happy about a new neighborhood being built adjacent to it. So they had been pretty serious about not wanting anybody to walk through their neighborhood to get to the high school. But we've had some breakthroughs in that the HOA in that community has actually joined with us in Habitat for Humanity, the town of Chapel Hill, and the school there to actually formalize the path so the kids can use it to get to school, but so anybody can use it to get to the bus stop. So that's a map of how to get on that formal path, but we'll be working continually to improve the path and encourage people to use it as a way to reduce barriers to riding the bus. My last slide is just some upcoming events. We actually, in the last 2 weeks, had 3 different fall-related events. Used a bike blender out in the Fairview community. That's the first picture. We had a fall festival and trunk or treat. I was dressed like a traffic cone. That's the middle picture. And then the last one, the day before Halloween, there was a trunk or treat at Weaver's Grove, and we had a bike trailer as the only bike in the trunk or treat. You can see there's a car there with his trunk up, and then there's us, me with my bike and a bike trailer. So you can see we have a lot of fun with this, as well as getting some work done and encouraging people to mode shift. This is me with one of the bikes that we got from the recyclery. But more information about contacting me if you have questions, but happy to answer any questions too. Again, thank you for the time.
Any questions from anybody? Thanks for the update. With that, we're on to 2026 Technical Committee Officer nominations.
This is a very quick update, simply to let everyone know per our bylaws, we need to do officer elections at our next meeting in January. Your chair and vice chair are completing their first terms and they're eligible for a second term. Please send me any nominations by January 2nd, and we'll have that item on the next agenda.
Not gonna be a reminder, yeah, it's good to have.
Yeah, you started off strong with those 40-minute meetings.
Yeah.
Going downhill here, it's not good for your reelection.
Sorry.
I have to do some campaigning.
Last minute.
Just remember, anybody who votes no against the current slate is nominating yourself for the no.
Recent news and articles is the last item. Next meeting is January 13th. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move, Paul Black, go try it.
Moved by Paul. Second by Becca, all in favor. Aye. See you on next Tuesday.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Sure, we'll see you before that.
You can't avoid anything.
So, they'll be like.